part 2 of our series, Difference Maker. If you missed part 1, you can go to our website, impactchurchmd.com, and you can hear part 1 of that. It's also on our YouTube page as well. But in part 1, we just kind of set the groundwork for this idea of being a difference maker. And Impact Church, we're going to be a church that makes a difference. So in order for us to be a church that makes a difference, we have to be a church full of difference makers. And what we said last week, and it's kind of the groundwork that we have to understand in order for anything else we do throughout this series to make sense, is we need to know what makes a difference and how we become those people that make a difference. So we make a difference by making disciples. We make disciples by loving God and loving others. If we become the people God's called us to be, which is to love God and love others, then the result will be making disciples. That's what makes a difference. So throughout the rest of the series, we're going to be talking about some of our core values as a church that helps us make disciples, helps us love God and love people. So some of our core values. Today, what we're talking about is community. Community. So I have a lot of different groups of friends. I have like a fantasy football group of friends. I have a group of friends that we just kind of hang out and talk about like stuff that we like different interests. And every group of friends comes with something that a lot of you are a part of. It comes with a group chat. You guys know group chats, right? How many guys do group chats? A lot of you guys, right? So I have a lot of different group chats. I have a pick-to-click group chat, which what that is it's Orioles baseball, which we're depressed about. But every game we pick a player, and if that player hits a home run, we get a point. We didn't get a lot of points this year. So that's a group chat text. We have fantasy football group text. We have a family group text. We have a good amount of our friends that hang out a good amount in a group text with that, a group chat. And I have a love-hate relationship with group chat. I don't know about you guys, but I love group texts and group chats because people that you don't see as much, you can feel connected to. Like, I have a friend that lives in DC. I don't see him that much, but he's part of one of my group texts, and so I talk to him a lot. So you can be really connected with people. That's why I love it. I hate group texts because you can be really connected to people. And sometimes I'm too connected to people. Like, you ever been part of a group text where it's just over and over people that don't have jobs, I guess, that just text all day in the group text. And then, if those that have Apple, they did something that I liked at first, but now I hate it with group text, is you can like an image or put a ha-ha to a text or an image. And I had a friend this week who saw an image in a group text, and he liked it, disliked it, exclamation point in it, ha-ha it, and question mark, all in a row. So all day, boom, 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 it's just vibrating like crazy. And with my job, a lot of my job, it comes with doing things like getting coffee with people, hanging out with people, having like personal one-on-one talks. I do it like 3 to 5 times a week at least. And so sometimes when I'm sitting there trying to talk to somebody and they're connecting with me and they're trying to tell me about some of the stuff that's going on in their life, those group texts kill it because it's just the whole time I'm just distracted with it. So I'll take it out, I'll put it on the table, and then I just hear it vibrating in my head. I'm like, what's happening? I need to know what's happening. So what Apple did, and what I guess the other ones did, which I don't know because I don't have any other phones, is they made something that was the greatest invention, the hide alerts. You guys ever use the hide alerts on group text? What it does is you don't get those vibrations anymore. You don't leave the group text. You don't want to be that person who leaves that group text and then all of a sudden like oh, they don't like us anymore. So you hide the alerts so you don't get any of the vibrations anymore, but you don't actually see the text and confuse you. So one time I was out to coffee with somebody, and while we were there, I was a part of group text, so I did what most of us do. I said, sorry, I'm going to hide this really quick because it was too distracting. I hid the group text, and then I went, after we're done talking, I went home and started working and started doing stuff. And then 2 weeks later, I found out that all of my friends were hanging out, and I didn't know anything about it. I was like, what is everyone decided to do something they didn't tell me. And so when that happens, you don't just go to them and tell them, hey, that hurt me, I would like to talk to you. Instead, you act very passive-aggressively, and you just say something to them in a passive-aggressive way. That's the biblical way to do it, right? So what I did is I texted a friend that I knew was actually busy and said, hey, what are you doing tonight? I know what they're doing tonight, but I wanted to see what they would say. They said, oh, we're hanging out with everybody. And I said, oh, well, I guess my invitation got lost in the mail, because I didn't get a text about that. And that's actually a line that Frank, who's, I don't know where he is, but Frank, every time I go to see a movie and I don't invite him, he always says that. My invitation got lost in the mail. And then one time I actually sent an invitation in the mail to go to the movies. I did. I don't think he came, but I did send So I said something like that, and then I started just pouring out, like, I always invite everybody to stuff. Why wouldn't you invite me? And I would just start saying mean things, and and all of a sudden they're like, well, you're part of the group text, aren't you? Like, you saw it, right? And then I look back like, oh, I didn't take those alerts off. So now I'd be like an idiot, and I'm like, I'm just kidding, I'm just playing around, right? So that kind of stuff is hard. Community can be weird, community can be hard, community can be tricky, and it's hard, because all of us want community. All of us want friends, all of us want a group of people to hang out with. But community also causes the most pain possible in our lives. Like, think of the times you were hurt the most, it was because of somebody you probably considered a friend, or some kind of community you were in. It hurts us the most. All of us want community, and we want it because that's how we're designed. We were made in God's image, and God is a communal God. He is God, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. It's 3 in 1. So God in and of himself is community. So we all want community for that same exact reason, because that's how we're made. We're made to want community. That even though sometimes community hurts us, and community causes a lot of pain, we still desperately want community. But most of us, we just take whatever community we get. Whatever's convenient, whatever's easy, whatever people are around, that's the people that we become friends with and we build our community in. So how do we, as communal people, as people made in God's image that desperately need community, how do we have godly community? How do we do that? What does godly community even look like? So today we're going to be looking at Ecclesiastes chapter 4, through your Bibles or your Bible apps. Open up to Ecclesiastes chapter 4, go 9 through 12. Ecclesiastes, a little background on this book, is written by a guy named Solomon. So Solomon is considered the wisest person to ever live. He also wrote the book of Proverbs. If you haven't read that, the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs is great. It's just gems of wisdom. It's just so much wisdom that he's pouring out. And he wrote the book of Proverbs to his kids so that they would live a good life and a holy life. But then Solomon, if you know Solomon's story, didn't actually follow all the things that he was told to follow. And so the book of Ecclesiastes is actually a book of lament. It's him talking about some of the things that he learned the hard way, and he's begging his readers to not learn it the way he learned it. So we're going to look at Ecclesiastes chapter 4, where Solomon's talking about the importance of godly community, is what he's talking about. So let's read it. Starting with verse 9. 2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their labor. If either one of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help him up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So Solomon's making a very simple, important, and key point here in verses 9 through 12. He's saying this: 2 are better than 1. A community is better than being by yourself. Community is better than isolation. 2 are better than 1. So these verses in this passage give us reasons why godly community is better than being by yourself in isolation. 2 are better than 1. Here's why. I'm going to give 4 points that Solomon gives us. First point, number 1, you can accomplish more. When you're in godly community, you can accomplish more. Solomon started with 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. Another translation says that they have a good reward for their toil. So he's giving this idea of agricultural work. When you are like a farmer or working agricultural work, you have to toil in order to have a harvest, right? You have to put in the work. And if you don't have a harvest, especially back then your family would die. You had to have a harvest. So you had to toil for the harvest, had to take a lot of work. Anything worth accomplishing in life is hard work. Anything is. Getting a good education, it's hard work, right? Not necessarily getting good grades. Some of you are really good at getting the grade without actually doing your work, and I'm jealous of you. But getting good education, actually taking what you learn and applying it, living it out, and actually growing, it takes hard work. Having a healthy marriage, married couples, it's hard work, right? It's never-ending hard work, having a healthy marriage. Raising responsible kids, man, that's tough. You can do all the right things and still it might not work. Raise responsible kids, that's a lot of hard work. See, do you get these things easily? No. We have to toil first in order for there to be a harvest. Things in life that matter, truly matter, takes a lot of hard work. And what Solomon is saying is that with that hard work, when you're in community, you will accomplish more. You will accomplish more in community than you would by yourself, your hard work. The process of planting Impact Church was a lot of hard work. It was a year-long process of planning it all out. And after launch day, wife and I, we got a ton of calls and a ton of emails and a ton of texts and people the day of congratulating us for launching Impact Church. And it was very nice of everyone to do, and we appreciated it. A couple things though. We don't launch churches, God launches churches. We are just part of the ride, and I truly believe that we can do everything we can to make it the best we can, but at the end of the day, God grows churches, we don't grow churches. That's number one, very important. Number two, Erica and I didn't launch this church. 43 people launched this church. There's 43 people that decided we're in on this mission and vision and we're going to help start this church. In fact, on launch day, I didn't set anything up. I'll just sit in the back, drink coffee. I'm the pastor. I don't have to set anything up anymore. I'm just kidding. I did not do that. I didn't say that. I was like running around doing all this stuff. We had a whole team that set all this stuff up. I didn't do anything. I didn't set this area up. All these areas, all the church areas. I didn't do that. We had a launch team because we were able to accomplish a lot more because we had a team. If it was just Erica and I would have to lead worship first. And you guys, I'm telling you, none of you would be here if I had to lead worship. You'd get here at 10:45 for that worship. We were able to accomplish more because of the community that was there. See, when you're in proper community, you accomplish more. You accomplish more at work when your team uses their strengths to accomplish the same mission. You accomplish more at work. You accomplish more in school when you have friends that want to grow and learn and you're working together to understand the problems. You accomplish more in your marriage when you are in a community that supports your marriage and that supports healthy marriages. You accomplish more in your marriage. You accomplish more in your parenting. When you have people that are beside you, that will give you the break that you need, that will lift you up when your kids tear you down, you will accomplish more in your parenting. And you will accomplish more in your walk with Christ when you surround yourself with a community that is trying to look like Jesus. You will accomplish more in your walk with Christ. Number one, accomplish more. Number two, recover more. We're in a godly community, we recover more. Solomon says, if either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. At times in life, we're going to fall down. We will fall, whether you are the most careful walker ever, whether you've been walking forever, whether you can whether you can moonwalk, you will eventually fall while you're walking, right? Times when we're not paying attention, times we trip on something, we fall down. One time I was helping a VBS, which is Vacation Bible School. It was myself, my brother, and Topper, who's sitting right there. Us three, we did Bible adventure. So we would sit there and the kids would come in and we would take them back into Bible time. And we would do a skit and go, funny, funny, and then they would leave. So the skit, I didn't remember what it was, but at some point I was jumping into water. There's a big blue tarp, and I soaked myself with water and then I jumped back out and then finished the skit. So we do it the first time, everything goes fine. There's like 70, 80 kids in there. Jump in, get myself wet, jump back out, and finish the skit. The second group of kids come in right away, like immediately right away. So I jump back in, I soak myself with water, and when I jump back out, I forgot to clean up all the water that I had made from doing this. And when I hit the floor, my feet went flying up like this, my head crashed on the back of the wall, or on the floor, and I look, and there's 70 kids that are pointing, going, ha 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 ha, pointing right in my face. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I look to see if anyone will help me. I look to my partners, Topper and Shane. And I look over, and they are on the ground crying. They are laughing so hard. No one helped me up. No one assisted me. All they did was laugh. We didn't even finish the skit. They couldn't act anymore. They literally would try, and they kept cracking up laughing. We'd send them all out. No one helped me. I had a concussion, and I didn't care. I fell down so hard. So at times we fall in life. In life, you will fall. You will have failures. You will have mistakes. You will have errors, because we are human. We are not perfect. At times, we will fall down in life. But when we fall down, it's easier to recover when we have a community around us. It's easier to get up when you have a community around us. See, I've fallen a lot in my life. And I know some of you are probably thinking, Eric, no way, you're perfect, you're awesome. And I'm like, I know, I come across that way. People think that, but I've struggled a lot. And if I'm going to be open, there are things that I've struggled with for a long time. One of the things that I've really struggled with my entire life, and to be completely transparent with you, is I've struggled with an addiction to pornography for my whole life. I have. It's something that when I was in middle school or high school, I started to see stuff, and then took me down a path where I was looking at things I didn't want to look at, and I had every intention to stop. I went to altar calls and prayed and cried, God, please take this away from me. I would spend out at night, I would pray, God, please. I would decide, you know what, today's the last day, I'm not doing it anymore. I would keep going back to it. But it wasn't until I got some friends of mine, and I put my pride aside, because that's what it was. I didn't want anyone to know, because I was ashamed of it. I put my pride aside and confessed to people and said, I need help. I need an accountability partner. I need a community around me that I was able to take to overcome it. And I still fight it. I'm always going to be fighting it. But it's because of the community I was in that I was able to recover more from my self-inflicted wounds of that addiction. See, I don't care how long you've been a follower of Jesus. You can fall into the trap of sin. It's not no one decides to become addicted to something. It's just one little step that takes us down a bad path. All of us can do that. Doesn't matter how long you've been a Christian. Doesn't matter how much you serve at church. All of us can fall into that trap. And we've seen this in so many different church examples. There's so many different pastors we can talk about that you all know that fall into those traps. As a church, we want to be a place where people come in with those wounds and don't feel like they have to dress up and play the right church part in order to be accepted, but they can be open and vulnerable with whatever they're struggling with, and there's a community that they will find that will be there for them. We want to be a church of restoration, not amputation. Not when you confess something, well, yeah, to actually build each other up. That's the church we need to be. And if you want to recover more, you need a community around you that will be able to pick you back up. Number 3, heal more. We heal more. Solomon says, also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? And some of you might be reading that verse, and I know what you're probably thinking. That sounds, if two lie down together? And a lot of times people use this passage as a marriage passage because of that verse. Because it sure seems like it's talking about something that married couples are supposed to do, right? So this is where I start my sex room. You guys ready? I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that. I know you guys don't want to hear it. I don't want to give it. We're not going to talk about it right now. There's 2 things that people hate hearing more in church is sex and money. And I just want you to know that the pastor also hates talking about it. I believe that Jesus wants us to talk about those things, so we will at times. But when I do, you need to know I'm not comfortable with it either, just like you're not comfortable hearing it. But Jesus talks about some of that stuff, so we got to talk about it. But this is actually not talking about a married couple. We don't have to recover from the Bible. We let the Bible speak for itself. We don't have to do that. See, it's actually talking about a traveler. Like the last verse talks about a traveler when he falls down. And here, this traveler is he's out in the elements. It's cold. It gets dark. He has no place to stay, and so he has to stay outside in the cold elements. And sometimes if you stay outside and it's too cold, you can literally die from it. And Solomon is saying here, but when you have 2, you can stay warm. You can survive the cold. So you need community to succeed in your work. You need community to get back up when you fall down. You also need community to survive in the cold. Sometimes in life, you're in a bad situation. You make a bad mistake. There's something happening in your life that you're in a spot that is not your fault. It's just life. Life is hard. Life is tough. And we're in a spot where bad things happen, not because you did anything to make them happen, but because that's how life is. People leave. Loved ones pass away. Pain and suffering and disappointment happen. People hurt you. Life affects you. Being a follower of Jesus does not protect you from any of this. In fact, Jesus guarantees that it's going to happen to you. That in this life you will have trouble. We go through these times of pain in life because life is life. We need community. Community will help us heal more. The start of this church plan started with a lot of pain and suffering for my family. Some of you know this story, but my wife and I, when we started in August, August of last year, we were praying about planning a church, and we had a plan in place. We had a church that was fully going to support it, that we don't have to raise any money, they were going to fully fund it, and then I was going to start working there, so I was going to have a job, and then August, that was the plan. September, the entire plan was going. And it wasn't anyone's fault. There's no one to blame. It's just life happens, and bad circumstances, and my wife and I were stuck in the middle of it. So now all of a sudden, August, we're a fully funded church plan, and I have a job where I can build a team. So now we have no money, nobody on the church plan, and I have no job. And for 3 months, I didn't work. 2 months I didn't work, and 2 other months I worked for half of the salary. My wife's a teacher, so teachers make a lot of money. So we were struggling. Like, it was hard, especially the stereotypical, like, husband, father, you want to protect, you want to, like, support your family, and I couldn't support my family. My wife started having really bad anxiety. In fact, she started doing therapy in September because she had to. And I kind of felt like I was causing that, like I was on that wing with her. It was tough. It was a really hard time for my family. It really was. We were able to get through it not because I'm a pastor. We were able to get through it because I'm a Christian. We were able to get through it because I had a godly community that was there to pick me up when I was out in the cold. My family was out in the cold. We had a godly community that supported us, that bought us dinner, that would do whatever they could to help us get to the point where we are now. Sometimes you're going to be in situations where you need that. A godly community will help you heal more. When the pain of life comes, community will help you heal more. And number 4, what does godly community do? It protects more. You protect more in a godly community. Solomon says, though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. See, in this life, you will be attacked. You will be the victim of personal attacks. You'll have people that come that attack your integrity, that lie about you, that slander you, that gossip about you, that do everything they can to bring you down. You ever heard the saying that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? That saying's a lie. The saying should be sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will hurt forever. That's really what it is. Because I've had people attack me. I remember my last church, there was a person that they were actively trying to take away my pastor license. They thought I did not deserve to be a pastor, thought I was a terrible leader, and they let everybody know. And I'm a person that can kind of take some of that stuff. It doesn't bother me as much as some people. But after a while, it starts to bother you when people are personally attacking you over and over and over, and you feel like you're doing everything you can to live the life that God's calling you to do and be the leader you're supposed to be, and everything that's done, you're undermined. So at times, I wanted to respond in a very unpastorly way. Let's just say it that way. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to respond the way I should have. But because of the community I was in, I was able to protect my family more. I was able to handle the situation better. You will have times where you are attacked personally. You need a godly community that will help you protect more. And not just attacks of people. We believe that there will be times when you will be spiritually attacked. You know what happened once we launched Impact Church? My basement flooded, my washing machine broke, I ran over stuff in my car, so my car's leaking gas, and our shower broke. Launch week. Think that's an accident? Just, it's a weird coincidence? No, it's not. There will be times where you will be spiritually attacked. Because if you are doing what God's calling you to do, there's an enemy out there that wants to stop you. There's times where that will happen. There are times that things that are working against you to undermine and overthrow your commitment to Jesus. And in those times, you desperately need a godly community to lean back on, to protect more. See, community protects more from the attacks of this world, and it protects more from the attacks of the enemy. Godly community. So why we need godly community? Because with proper community we can accomplish more, we can recover more, we can heal more, we can protect more. That's what happens when we're in godly community. But do you have godly community? Or do you have community? There's a difference. Some of us have friends. We don't have godly community. And we just leave it up to chance. That whoever's close to us, whoever's around, whoever kind of likes the same things, then that's our community. And we think, we're fine because I have friends. Do you have community, or do you have godly community? A community that will pick you up, a community that is there for you, a community that will help you accomplish more, recover more, heal more, protect more. All of us need that. But it doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by accident. Godly community is only found through intentionality. That's it. Godly community is only found through intentionality. You have to be intentional about your community. Because you've seen it. I worked with youth group for a long time. I saw students that had every intention to be a good Christian person, and the only thing they did wrong was they hung out with the wrong group. And all of a sudden, they went down a path, they made decisions they didn't want to make because of the community they were around, because they weren't intentional about their community. Do you have godly community? You have to be intentional about it. A lot of us, our best friends, are people that we just were close to. My best friend, he lived 5 houses down. We became best friends because he lived 5 houses down. He was the only person on my street. Luckily, he was fine. But that's not stuff happening. You need to be intentional about godly community. You have to be intentional. It's too important. There's too much at risk for you not to be. See, what you need to understand is, when it comes to our community and our friends, we think we choose our friends, but actually our friends choose us. You know that, right? You don't choose your friends choose you. See, all of us crave and desire acceptance. All of us do. Nothing wrong with that. We were made that way. We want to feel accepted in life. So you will only be friends with somebody that accepts you. You won't be friends with somebody that doesn't accept you. Why would you want to be? So if their acceptance is a prerequisite for you to be friends with them, and if they don't accept you, you won't be friends with them, and your friends actually choose you. You need their acceptance first before you'll be friends with them. So why would we leave that up to chance? There's too much at risk. Godly community gives us too much. Why would we leave it up to chance? Godly community is only found through intentionality. So are you intentional about your community? There are a lot of ways to be intentional about your community, but one way that we as the church want to help you be intentional about your community is through impact groups. We believe that being intentional about your community is so important that we want to give you an opportunity to be plugged into a group that is going the same direction, that is leading the same way. Impact groups. We have 4 different impact groups that will be starting this week, actually. Let me see, I think that most of them in the room. My parents and the Vivics right there, they're leading the group in Marysville on Tuesdays, right? Okay. Myself, my wife are leading a group on Wednesdays in Sykesville. We have a student group that Nathaniel and Becca and Pat are leading on Thursdays, so for students, because this is a huge thing for students. And we have a Baltimore group that Jessica and Laura are leading on Tuesdays as well. We have different groups that you can be connected to, that you can be intentional about your community. Right out there in the next step tables, you can sign up for an impact group right now. You can go right there, or you can go to our website, impactchurchmp.com/nextsteps. Because it's too important, there's too much at risk to not be intentional about your community. We want to give you the opportunity to do that. Now, I'm going to call out the elephant in the room with this. I'm not naive to the fact that I know many of you have heard the community sermon before. So if you've been in church long enough, you've heard this whole speech of doing that. And I know, for me at least, maybe not you, but I get a little weary when I hear a sermon and the person gives me this big problem and then happens to have the solution. Join our impact group. I get that. Some of you are like, yeah, I caught that. So I get that. But here's what I want you to know. I know it can seem self-serving, but here's what I want to reassure you. Our goal at Impact Church is not to become the biggest church in Maryland. Our goal at Impact Church is not to grow by a bunch of numbers. Our goal at Impact Church is to help you grow in your walk. That's it. I'd much rather be a church of 20 people that are actually striving to make disciples by loving God and loving others than be a church of 500 people that don't actually know Jesus. Take that any day. So I want to reassure you, we want something for you, not from you. I'm not suggesting that you join an impact group so that it will benefit Impact Church. I'm suggesting you join an impact group because it will benefit you. Because godly community is so important. Godly community is the only found through intentionality. Some of you need that community, you don't have it. Impact groups are a way to do it. It's not the only way. It's not the only way, but it's an easy start. So here's what you need to understand. Nobody grows closer to God through isolation. Nobody. It's not possible. I've never seen someone say, yeah, well, I stopped going to church and I stopped going to my small group and started hanging out by myself. And my faith grew like crazy. It's not possible. It's impossible for that to happen. It is. Jesus modeled that. If Jesus thought community was so important that he had 12 people surrounding him, why do we think we don't need it? Proverbs 18:1 says, a man who isolates himself seeks his own desire. He rages against all wise judgment. Isolation in your walk with Christ. It's selfish, it's foolish, and it's ungodly. It's that simple. Godly community is essential to your faith. It accomplishes more. It recovers more. It heals more. It protects more. But you can't just luck in a godly community. You have to be intentional. This godly community is only found through intentionality. Solomon ends his sermon with this, and I think it's a great way to end it. He says, a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So here he's been talking about 2 this whole time. 2 are better than 1, 2 are better than 1. At the end he says, a cord of 3 strands. Where's that third one come from? See, when you are in godly community, God is in it too. God blesses it. God blesses you. God is in it too. And when you are in community that God is in, you will not be quickly broken. You can accomplish more. You can recover from more. You can heal from more. You can do a lot of things. Godly community is only found through intentionality. Some of you need to throw away your excuses. Because I know you have them. You need to throw them away. There's too much at risk for this. You cannot be the difference maker God is calling you to be without godly community. And godly community is only found through intentionality. Can we pray? God, thank you for being the God that has made us in his image. Made us people that need community. And thank you for being the God that sent his son so that we can be back in community with you. God, I pray that you just help everyone in the room that has maybe not been living out the community they need to live out. They have friends, they have community, but it's not a godly community. It's not a godly community that actually helps. God, I pray that you give them the courage to do whatever it takes, whether it's join an impact group, whether it's find an accountability partner, whether it's meet with somebody once a week for coffee. Help them find ways to be intentional about their community. And thank you to God that just wants so much more for us. He doesn't want us to do everything isolated. He actually wants us to live the life and the calling that you've given us. Be a difference maker. To make disciples by loving you and loving others. Help us to do that through our community. We know that godly community is only found through intentionality. Help us to take the steps necessary to pursue the community you want for us. We love you and praise you. In Jesus' name, amen. We're going to sing a closing song, so I invite you guys to stand up as we sing this last closing song.